What's good, everybody? It's the Clown with Cab show. NFL is finally here. I freaking love it. NFL Week 1. We got my Indianapolis Colts hosting the Jacksonville Jaguars. Look, for the Indianapolis Colts, it's been the same MO for the past, decade. We haven't really been that good, and that's been the reality of it. And yes, I understand Anthony Richardson. We're really invested in on this guy that really only played 13 games in college. So we really don't know a lot about Anthony Richardson just yet. We know he's super athletic. We know he's got a good arm. He can throw the ball down the field. But my huge problem dealing with the Indianapolis Colts is looking at the organization and saying, what are they doing? Jonathan Taylor is out at least 4 games. They tried to release him and do some silly stuff. I just think overall the Colts, they might win 5 games this year. I'm just looking at reality. Obviously, I want my Colts to make the playoffs every single year, but overall, it's not going to happen. The reality is they will not make the playoffs this year. They're going to miss out. They do have Shaquille Leonard coming back, their star linebacker. He's going to make some big plays, but, without JT, it's going to be tough. It really is, and it's so much pressure on Anthony Richardson to just come up and just be like, hey, everything's on you now. You're going to have to run the ball. You're going to have to avoid the big hits. You're going to have to throw the ball down the field in double coverage. Can he read certain zone coverages? There's just so much to it in the NFL, right? But they're going against the Jacksonville Jaguars, who will win that division. Absolutely, and it starts with Trevor Lawrence. And we remember last season where they played in the playoffs and they beat the Chargers and they were down by 3 possessions, I believe it was, and came back and won the game. Just the resiliency. And we look at Trevor Lawrence, his first year in the NFL was really not that good. He really had a rough rookie season, and even we look at the legend like Peyton Manning, he had a terrible rookie season as well. So I do think they can overcome it. But Trevor Lawrence last season, 25 touchdowns, 8 picks, over 4,100 yards passing last season. So he balled out. Trevor Lawrence, I think he's a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. I think for fantasy-wise, he's definitely a huge pickup. Absolutely. Trevor Lawrence, he's got a lot of weapons. He's got ETN at running back. He had a decent season last season with 5 touchdowns. 1,125 yards rushing. So they're going to run the ball whenever they really please on the Indianapolis Colts. And then Christian Kirk, their star receiver, 1,108 yards receiving and 8 touchdowns last season. So I think the Jacksonville Jaguars will beat my Indianapolis Colts. Obviously, I'd love to see the Colts get a dub here. We remember last season they played the Houston Texans and they tied. And Houston Texans were the below average team, dude. They were terrible. Probably in the top 3 worst teams in the NFL. It was just like, dude, how are the Indianapolis Colts tying these guys? What's going on? But I think the Jacksonville Jaguars, I'll take the 5-point spread. I think it's all Jacksonville here. I really do. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to have 3 to 4 touchdown passes. I think it's going to be all Jacksonville. But I do think the Indianapolis Colts, we're going to see some good signs from Anthony Richardson. He's going to throw the ball down the field. He's going to do different things that we're not used to seeing in Indianapolis, right? We're used to seeing in Indianapolis a pocket quarterback who cannot run. He can't really run. We look at Andrew Luck. He couldn't really run. Yes, at times he could run, but overall, he really wasn't a running quarterback. And then we go through the list of just terrible quarterbacks that the Colts have gotten in the past, 6 years. It's been silly, dude. It's just Matt Ryan, he was washed up. Phillip Rivers, he was washed up. Just so many washed up quarterbacks. I'm glad we finally have Anthony Richardson, a young cat, a young guy who's going to come in. He's ambitious, who wants to win this game. So I can't wait for this. I really can't, but I'm going to go Jacksonville. I'm betting with my mind and not my heart. 46 is the over-under. I probably lean more towards the under here. I think it's going to be 24 to 10 Jacksonville in this matchup. But I definitely like the Jacksonville Jaguars hosting my Indianapolis Colts. Going to Indianapolis. It's just not going to work out. It's just not going to work out for the Indianapolis Colts, so I'm going Jacksonville Jaguars. And then we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Minnesota Vikings. Vikings are 5-point favorites. Look, I'm definitely going Minnesota here. I'll take the 5-point spread. We look at Tampa and realize, all right, they have Baker Mayfield, who's a subpar average quarterback at best. I mean, yes, Baker, he never gave up. His dream came true. He made the NFL. He did good. But overall, he's not the quarterback to lead you to the Super Bowl. He's just not. Baker Mayfield is not that guy. He does have Mike Evans, who's a baller, great receiver. You got Chris Godwin there. But overall, life without Tom Brady's rough. I mean, we look at, the New England Patriots. They didn't even make the playoffs last year without their boy. So, the GOAT is gone. Tampa Bay will not make the playoffs this year. They're going to be done. So, Minnesota Vikings, my huge thing is, why get rid of Dalvin Cook? A great running back, had a great season last year, and that's another head scratcher. I'm just thinking, why? You get rid of Dalvin Cook and keep Kirk Cousins? Kirk Cousins, he's a good quarterback, but like I said, he's not going to win you a Super Bowl. He's just not, dude. Like Dalvin Cook, they should have kept Dalvin Cook and traded Kirk Cousins. They really should have. They should have got somebody else. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo even is probably maybe even better than Kirk Cousins. That's not really saying much. They're probably about equals. Kirk Cousins, Jimmy Garoppolo, that seems about equal. But, Kirk Cousins, even though he did have a good season last year, over 4,500 yards passing, 29 touchdowns, 14 picks, but obviously his boy, the number one receiver, Justin Jefferson, over 1,800 yards receiving last year and 8 touchdowns. He was the number 2 guy overall in the top 100 players in the NFL this past season. So, behind, Mahomes with number 1. But I think Justin Jefferson, man, he has that it factor. He's equivalent, obviously not as good as Randy Moss was, but, he's up there. He really is. And if he continues this dominance, then we can start to talk about that. But Justin Jefferson this year, another breakout season I'm expecting from him. But like I said, you have Kirk Cousins as your quarterback. That's the thing. Like, is he really the guy? Is he really the guy to get you over the top? I don't think so. And they're going with the running back, Alexander Mattison. I just don't know much about this guy. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. The Minnesota Vikings, it's just like, why get rid of Dalvin Cook, dude? He was a great running back for you guys. A great system back who just had that momentum, a good locker room presence, and you get rid of him? It just doesn't make sense, but I'm still going to go Minnesota at home. I'll take the 5-point spread. 45.5 is the over-under. I'll probably go with the over. I think Minnesota's going to score a lot of points, and Tampa doesn't really have that good of a defense as they did when they won the Super Bowl back in 2020. It's just not the same anymore. But I do like Minnesota to cover. I like the 5 points. I'll go Minnesota Vikings all day at home. And then we got the Houston Texans versus the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens are 10-point favorites here. Obviously, I'm going Baltimore Ravens. I mean, the Houston Texans last year, they were 3-13-1. Pretty terrible. I mean, that is insane. They're investing in the rookie quarterback, C.J. Stroud, out of Ohio State with the number 2 overall pick this year in this NFL's draft. And I'm thinking, even at Ohio State, he had, great receivers. Marvin Harrison Jr., who will probably be a top 5 pick next year in 2024. I mean, dude, like, what more do you want in college, dude? Like, straight up, I don't know much about C.J. Stroud besides there's a lot of learning curves here in the NFL. So that's the thing, and I just, his first career start, obviously I'm going Baltimore at home. Lamar Jackson signed the deal finally. I think it's good. I think it's good for the Ravens. Lamar's the X-Factor guy. They got OBJ, in the mix. Zay Flowers. So I think for Baltimore, the thing is how is their secondary? Are they going to get back to what they once were when they won the Super Bowl with Ed Reed and Ray Lewis and those Hall of Famers back in 2013? So I think the Ravens consistently have a solid defense, but I want it to be better, And even for Lamar, I want better options around Lamar besides OBJ. There needs to be more people to step up for Lamar besides Lamar. To put it all on Lamar, all the rushing yards that Lamar does, all the passing that Lamar does, it's just single-handedly, everything's on Lamar right now. So I think for Lamar Jackson to get that key piece in the offense where that's his go-to guy. Is it going to be Odell? Who's it going to be? So I think for Lamar, obviously, he's going to do his thing. That's what Lamar Jackson does. I think this game's going to be somewhat close in the first half, and then Baltimore's going to pull away with Lamar. So I'll do the 10 points. I'll do that all day. 43.5 is the over-under. I'll probably go with the over here just because, like I said, at home, the opener, Lamar normally has big opening season games. So I love Baltimore over the Houston Trash Texans. And then we got the Cincinnati Bengals versus the Cincinnati Bengals versus the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland Browns, I was going to go Cleveland here, but Joe Burrow is saying, hey, he's ready to play. He did get hurt this preseason. His calf or something happened. I don't really know what happened. Besides, he just fell down in practice and it did not look good. Everybody in fantasy was like, don't draft Joe Burrow. Some people took the risk and drafted Joe Burrow. Me, I was done with the last pick in one of my leagues. Shout out to Dunsey. It was dumb of me. I was the 12th pick and I picked Jonathan Taylor, and now he's out for at least a month. So that was a bad risk that I took, and it didn't pay off. But in this instance, it is going to pay off. It really is. And I think for Joe Burrow, he wants to start, signed a 5-year, $275 million deal with the Bengals. So shout out to Joe Burrow getting paid. It's well-deserved. He deserves every cent. We see a lot of people struggling here in America. They're all homeless. Joe Burrow, he stepped this game up, dude. 275 M's in the bank account. Obviously, Uncle Sam's going to tax you. He's probably going to take about 50 M's of that, Joe. That's just part of America. It just sucks. It really does. But Joe Burrow is a baller. You got Jamar Chase, had a great season last year. His go-to guy by far. Joe Mixon, a great running back. Joe Burrow, 35 touchdowns last season. Over 4,400 yards passing last season. So Joe Burrow has that it factor, absolutely. And then you got T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd. The matchup in this matchup against the Browns is definitely Orlando Brown versus Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett, the D end on the Browns, he tore him up recently. So I think that's going to be a huge matchup between these guys. The offensive tackle Orlando versus Myles Garrett. Watch that matchup. And then the Browns, like I said, they got Deshaun Watson. Hopefully he's been out of the massage parlor recently. Okay, Deshaun Watson needs to focus here. Last season, he did not have a great season, obviously with the allegations and, the hand rubs. Like, I just need a quickie. Whatever that happened with Deshaun Watson, that has to go, dude. Deshaun, you're a target, okay? You're a multimillionaire here in America. Women are going to come after you. You do not need to go to massage parlors and get a quickie, dude. Make it make sense. Be smart, dude. I don't know what Deshaun Watson's thinking, but obviously I'm going to go Bengals here. If Joe Burrow is playing this game, I'm absolutely going Cincinnati Bengals. I'll take the 2 points. But if Joe Burrow does not play and it's a last-second decision by the head coach, I'm definitely going with the Cleveland Browns at home. That makes sense to me. Joe Burrow is a huge piece missing here. Even though they have great players like Jamar Chase, a top 3 receiver in the league, I still think that he has to start. So Joe Burrow starts. I'm going Bengals at 2. I'll do that all day. So I love the Cincinnati Bengals over the Cleveland Browns. And then we got the Tennessee Titans versus the New Orleans Saints. Saints are 3-point favorites. I think this game is a 50-50 game. I was leaning more towards the Saints, but I'm thinking, with Derrick Henry, even though a lot of people are expecting Derrick Henry not have as good of a season as he has prior seasons, with the workload, they're giving him 20-plus touches a game. I was disappointed I wasn't able to draft Derrick Henry in my fantasy league, really, because Derrick Henry last season over 1,500 yards rushing and 13 touchdowns. Ryan Tannehill, this is last year on his contract, and you can bet this is last year in Tennessee. Absolutely, unless they go to the Super Bowl and win it, which they're not going to. Tannehill's out of Tennessee after this year. That's it for Tannehill. Tannehill is just one of those guys where it's just like not much is productive. They have a great running game, but they just can't throw the ball down the field, and that's not Ryan Tannehill. I don't see it happening. You have Derek Carr returning, coming back. Derek Carr was with the Las Vegas Raiders. Now he's with the Saints. And that never understood to me. That I didn't understand why the Las Vegas Raiders released Derek Carr for Jimmy Garoppolo. That does not make sense at all. Like, what are they thinking, dude? For Jimmy G over, dude, that is terrible. Derek Carr, I think, yes, he didn't have the greatest season last year, but overall, over 3,500 yards passing, 24 touchdowns and 14 picks. I just think the Raiders releasing Derek Carr did not make sense. The Raiders did not do well. They got a worse quarterback in Jimmy Garoppolo. Like, dude, really, you're going to trade Derek Carr for Jimmy G? It just doesn't make sense, but the Saints capitalized on it. They got Derek Carr. They got Michael Thomas coming back, who's one of the best receivers in the league at one point. You got Taysom Hill. You got Jimmy Graham coming back, who skipped last season. So it's going to be fresh. So I'm going to lean more towards the Saints at home. I know I'm going a lot of home teams right now, but I love the Saints because of Derek Carr, his presence. And that's why I'm taking the Saints in their division, because he's the best quarterback in that division. He really is. So I'm going to go Saints over the Tennessee Titans, even though Tennessee's kind of one-dimensional here. Hey, run into Derrick Henry. That's it. Like, have Ryan Tannehill beat you, okay? That's not going to happen, so I'm going to go New Orleans Saints at 3. 41.5 is the over-under. This is tricky. I'll probably lean more towards the under, but I just think overall it makes sense for me to go the Saints with Derek Carr in New Orleans, a fresh start, new offensive coordinator, new coach. I think that's going to be great for Derek Carr in New Orleans, so I'm going New Orleans over the Tennessee Titans. And then we got the Carolina Panthers versus the Atlanta Falcons. Falcons are 3.5-point favorites. This game is going to be interesting. We got Bryce Young, the number 1 overall quarterback out of Alabama, number 1 draft pick. It's been interesting. A lot of people are doubting Bryce Young. I think Bryce Young reminds me a little bit of a young Russell Wilson-like quarterback. Super smart in the pocket, knows pocket presence, can feel the pressure coming in, and he can scramble out when he wants to. So I like Bryce Young. Even though a lot of people are saying he's going to be a bust, I don't think so. I don't think Bryce Young is going to be a bust at all. Offensive coordinator Thomas Brown has him ready. So I think for Carolina, they're going to be one of those sneaky teams. And honestly, I'm going to go Carolina with the upset here. I think Bryce Young is going to have a great freaking first game of his career, just like Cam Newton did when he played against Arizona back in 2011, had like 4 touchdown passes. So I think Bryce Young is going to break out, and they're going to upset Atlanta. Even though Atlanta's 3.5-point favorites, they got Robinson, the best running back out of the draft, out of Texas. He was the first-round pick, 8th overall. He's legit. But Desmond Ridder, this guy, last year, he was starting in and out. This is his first full season as a starter here. And this guy, he was a 3rd-round overall pick here in 2022 out of Cincinnati. Yes, he's tall. He has a good presence, but I don't know if I trust him fully 100% with Atlanta's team right now, who they have. I just don't know. They have Patterson, a great running back, 8 touchdowns last season. But I'm going to go Panthers with the upset here. A lot of people don't know about the Panthers besides Bryce Young, but I'm believing in Bryce Young. I really do. I think he's going to pan out in the NFL. I think he's super smart, book smart, and he just can read coverages great. So that's huge in the NFL. So I'm going to go the Panthers with the upset over the Atlanta Falcons. 40 is the over-under. I'll probably go with the over here. A lot of people are leaning more towards the under. I'm going to go with the over. Bryce Young's going to have a heyday here. I cannot wait. And then we got the San Francisco 49ers versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. 49ers are 2-point favorites. Look, the Steelers, Kenny Pickett had a really bad rookie season last year, 7 touchdowns, 9 picks, but I think he's going to turn around this year. You got George Pickens, you got Najee Harris, you got some weapons, TJ Watt, on the defensive side, but, I'm going 49ers here. I think the 49ers, Brock Purdy, what he did last year in the second half of the season has been crazy, and he was the last pick of last season's NFL draft, last overall. Dude, no one heard of Brock Purdy. Nobody knows about this guy until last season. In the second half, where it's like, dude, who is this guy? He's a gamer. He's got the pocket presence. He doesn't feel pressure. I think he's got ice in his veins. Over 1,300 yards passing last season with 13 touchdowns, 4 picks. And then you got Deebo Samuel. You got George Kittle. Deebo Samuel, George Kittle on my fantasy squad. I should win fantasy this year. I'm not going to get last again, dude. I should win fantasy. Then you got Christian McCaffrey. You got Fred Warner, who's a great linebacker. Probably the best linebacker in the NFL right now. Okay, pound for pound, Fred Warner. Great running back. Great linebacker. And then you got Nick Bosa, number 2 overall pick back in 2019 by the San Francisco 49ers. They said, you know what? Nick Bosa's legit. Probably the best defender right now, the best end in the NFL, which is hard to say, right? But he signed a 5-year, $170 million contract, $122.5 million is guaranteed of that. So shout out to Nick Bosa getting paid, man. Take off. He's the highest paid non-NFL quarterback in NFL history. So Nick Bosa got the bag. He said, you know what? I want at least $122 million guaranteed in this. Okay, I want that. That's what I want. Okay, so Nick Bosa got what he wanted, and I think the 49ers are probably the most talented team in the NFL. And that doesn't mean they're going to win the Super Bowl, but from head to toe, from offense to defense, dude, they are stacked. They are absolutely stacked. On offense, they should score every time, dude. Deebo, McCaffrey, Kittle alone. Dude, that's crazy. That's unfair. So I'm going to go for San Francisco, going into Pittsburgh. I think they're going to manhandle them. I really do. I think Pittsburgh's going to put up a good game in the first half, but second half, I think the 49ers are going to run through it and say, hey, Brock Purdy's just going to go all out here with Deebo Samuel, McCaffrey. So I cannot wait. So I'm going 49ers over the Steelers. 41.5 is the over-under. probably lean more towards the under, even though 49ers can put up crazy points. I just think, Kenny Pickett's going to start off a little slow, even though this probably will hit with the over, probably go over 42, which I won't be mad. But the bread and butter is my picks here, so I'm going 49ers. I'll take the 2 points over the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then we have the Arizona Cardinals versus the Washington Commanders. Commanders are 7-point favorites. Look, Arizona, they're destined to be the worst team in the NFL. Yeah, Kyler Murray, he's out till at least half the season. They're starting Joshua Dobbs. Nobody's heard of this guy. He's out of Tennessee. Last season he only had 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. Like, dude, it's going to be a terrible season for Arizona. It really is. It's going to be sad. So I'm going to go Washington Commanders. I'll probably go money line, though. I still think this game's going to be close. I don't fully trust the Washington Commanders. I really don't. Sam Howell, he's starting quarterback. He's out of North Carolina. I just don't really know much. I mean, obviously the best player is Chase Young on that defense. And then you got Terry McLaurin, 1,191 yards passing last season. Receiving last season and 5 touchdowns. So Terry McLaurin, their best receiver by far. Sam Howell, I don't know much of this guy. Is he really the savior for Washington Commanders? Both teams are trash. Both teams will miss the playoffs. But I'm going to go Washington Commanders over the trash Arizona Cardinals. And then we got the Las Vegas Raiders versus the Denver Broncos. Look, Las Vegas Raiders, they're dumb. Traded Derek Carr for Jimmy G. We know there's drill. But Josh Jacobs, what a signing. I mean, what a season he had last year. Over 1,600 yards rushing and 12 touchdowns. He signed a 1-year, $12 million deal. So shout out to Josh Jacobs. He deserves every penny of that $12 million. Obviously, they'll hit you with the tax in Las Vegas. You already know that. But I think for Denver, it's one of them things. Yes, Sean Payton, he won a Super Bowl in New Orleans. I think Sean Payton and Russell Wilson had to be on the same page here. There's already been some feud where, Sean Payton said, stop like hugging and kissing kids. I don't know what went on. I just think right now, Russell Wilson, is his heart in it? Is his heart, mind, body, and soul in the NFL right now? And the answer is, I don't think it is. I just don't. He's married to a celebrity, Sierra. They got a family now, and it's just different for Russ. It's not the same Russell Wilson that I saw in Seattle when he went to the Super Bowl, winning Super Bowls, even lost the Super Bowl. I don't understand, dude. I just don't. He had 16 touchdowns, 11 picks last year. But, I'm going to go Raiders here because I don't know much about Denver yet. Nobody does, dude. Like, even Sean Payton's like, I don't know what Russ we're going to get. Are we going to get last year's Russ where it's just rusty and not the hunger, the ambition Russ? Like, I want the hungry Russell Wilson. I do. I want him, dude. I want him to throw the ball down the field. I want him to throw in double coverage, dude. I want him to take shots here if I'm Sean Payton. But overall, I'm going the Raiders here because of Josh Jacobs in that run game. I think they're going to run all over Denver's defense, and that's the difference maker in this matchup. So I'm going to go Las Vegas Raiders over the Denver Broncos. 43 is the over-under. I'll go with the under in this matchup just because of you're playing in Denver. It's the first home opener, and Denver's offense looked terrible last season. But Sean Payton, a great coach that he is, he could change this whole program around in Denver. So I'm not going to doubt Sean Payton. I'm just down Russell Wilson right now. From what I saw last season, it was terrible. It was absolutely terrible. So I'm going to go Las Vegas Raiders over the Denver Broncos. And then we got the Miami Dolphins versus the LA Chargers. 2 young quarterbacks. I drafted 2 in like the 10th round in fantasy. It was a high risk, obviously. He's injury prone. He got injured last year, but he has so many weapons. You got Jalen Ramsey coming in. Even though he hurt his knee, he won't be back till like December or January, probably around playoff time, which is going to hurt the Miami Dolphins defensively. But obviously, you have the fastest man in NFL, the Cheetah, a.k.a. Tyreek Hill. He's going to do his thing. If you drafted Tyreek Hill in fantasy, you're going to win some weeks, let me tell you, because he can break out. He can score 30 to 40 points in fantasy. So I love Tyreek Hill, what he could do. But the Chargers, they're investing heavy on Justin Herbert, who's 0-1 in the playoffs. Lost to Jacksonville Jaguars last year in the playoffs, where really they choked. They choked that game, and he signed a 5-year, $262 million deal. $262.5 million deal. I mean, they're giving this guy a lot of money who's never won a playoff game. So I'm not like throwing shade at Justin Herbert or whatnot. But my thing is, has he won the big game? Has he overcame it? Like, he hasn't even won a playoff game, dude. You're investing over 200 M's in this guy. I think it's a high risk. I really do. Yes, he's got some great players around him, but Joey Bosa on that defensive side, I just think, looking at this matchup, it makes sense to go Chargers, right? But you know what? I think me drafting Tua here, I think Miami's going to get him here. They're going into L.A., nice weather in Miami. They're used to the nice weather. I think Tyreek Hill's going to have a huge game, so I'm going to go Miami over the Chargers. Even though the Chargers are 3-point favorites, this is another underdog matchup that I like. I think Tua's going to blow out. I'm praying Tua throws for 4 touchdown passes so I can win in fantasy week 1, so I can start off winning. Last year I started off losing. Let me start off winning here, so I'm going to go Miami over the Chargers. 51 is the over-under. I'll go with the over. I think this is definitely for sure an over. I think that both offenses are explosive, can throw the ball down the field, could do some good things. Mike Williams, the receiver. They got, Allen. So many threats here, so I definitely go with the over, but I like Miami to win by a field goal in this matchup. I cannot wait. And then we got the Philadelphia Eagles versus the New England Patriots. New England Patriots, look, the Patriots missed the playoffs last year. They're missing their boy. Bill Belichick's missing his baby boy, the GOAT, Tom Brady. And that's it. They released Bailey Zappi, which doesn't make sense to me. They're investing in Mac Jones. Mac Jones, I've always said that he's not the guy. He's just not. Mac Jones is not a guy like that, dude. He's not a Super Bowl champion quarterback. Mac Jones is subpar, dude. He had 14 touchdowns and 11 picks last year in one of the worst offenses in the league last year in New England. So I think the Patriots right now, Bill Belichick, reality's hitting for him. Reality, the dynasty's over New England. Bill Belichick will not win another Super Bowl in New England. He just won't. He won't, and I think Bill Belichick's going to retire in the next 5 years. The reign is over in New England. In Philly, they're going into New England. I'm going Philly at 4. I'm taking Philly. Jalen Hurts over 3,700 yards passing last year, 22 touchdowns and 6 picks. So Jalen Hurts is going to do his thing. I drafted him in my other league, so that was a smart pickup. I think Jalen Hurts is so underrated. Not many people talk about Jalen Hurts like he's a baller, dude. He does it all. People want to bring up the fumble in the Super Bowl. Did he bounce back from that? He had a great Super Bowl. Like, if it wasn't for him, they wouldn't even been in the game. So I think Jalen Hurts is that X factor. Signed a 5-year, $255 million deal in Philly through 2028. 2028, 5-year, $255 million. So shout out to Jalen Hurts, man. He's balling out. Then you got Jason Kelce under the center. Great center. And then you got A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and they drafted Jalen Carter, the DN from Georgia. I'm telling you, he's going to be a huge threat. The Eagles can easily go back to the Super Bowl, and the Eagles can win the Super Bowl this year. I believe in them. They have the talent, and it starts with Jalen Hurts. He's only getting better, so I'm going to go Philly. I'll take the 4-point spread all day. 44.5 is the over-under. I'll probably go with the over here because of Jalen Hurts. The offense is going to put up big numbers. Devontae Smith is going to have a huge game. He's in one of my fantasy leagues, and A.J. Brown's going to snap off. So I like Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles to run through New England with no offense whatsoever. So I like Philly over New England. And then we got the Green Bay Packers versus the Chicago Bears. What a matchup. Packers lead the all-time series 104-94 to 6 ties. So it's definitely been Packers all time, right? Packers have won 8 in a row against the Bears recently, which is crazy, dude. What a stunt it has been. But life without Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, it's going to be a little different. Let's be honest here. It's going to be way different. Jordan Love, he was a first-round pick in 2020. And even then, Aaron Rodgers knew when they drafted Jordan Love, he was like, my way, I'm out. Eventually I'm going to be out. It took a little too long for Aaron Rodgers to get out. Obviously, Rodgers found a new home in New York, and he's going to do some crazy things with the Jets. I really do. But Jordan Love, are we going to believe in him? Is this the guy? Is this the guy to bring you back to the promised land, or what Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre did, won a Super Bowl? Is that going to be it? Is it going to be like the back in Super Bowl 1 and 2 where Green Bay repeated? I don't know. Nobody really knows except Jordan Love and that coaching staff and that team. The fans really don't know. the fans can say what they want and say, oh, he's going to be a failure or he's going to be a superstar. They don't know. The truth is you don't know yet, dude. He hasn't really played that much, so it's definitely a question mark. No Christian Watson, that star receiver. So I'm going to go Bears here at home, 1.5. I think Justin Fields, last season, 2,242 yards passing, dude. He had 1,143 yards rushing, 17 touchdowns, 11 picks. I think Justin Fields, adding DJ Moore is the X factor here. DJ Moore from Carolina, I'm telling you what, dude, he had 7 touchdowns last season, and we saw in the preseason game, first snap, touchdown, DJ Moore. So I think the Chicago Bears are going to be obviously better than last year. I think they won, 3 or 4 games last year. So it's only up for the Chicago Bears. Like, only up. So I'm going to go Chicago Bears, finally getting the dub. You know, it's been 8 in a row for Green Bay. When is it going to be the dub? This weekend in Chicago. I think Justin Fields is going to snap off, so I'm going Chicago, winning by a field goal over Green Bay. This matchup's classic, but I think Justin Fields and DJ Moore are the X factor here offensively. They're going to exploit Green Bay's secondary. I can't wait for this matchup, so I'm going Chicago Bears over the Green Bay Packers, finally getting the dub, finally getting over that hump. And then we got the LA Rams versus the Seattle Seahawks. Seahawks are 5-point favorites here. Geno Smith really had a good season last year, and they got a lot of guys coming back. Kenneth Walker, that running back, I snagged up again in my fantasy squad, who I got last year, who had a really great season last year as a running back out of Michigan State. Great running back. Bobby Wagner is coming back to Seattle. He was with the Rams last season. Now he's back. And then you got Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf. So many X factors here. And the main reason why I'm going Seattle is Cooper Kupp is out. He's out with a hamstring injury. Who knows? He might be out a month. I don't know. And Matt Stafford's coming off an injury. So for the Rams right now, yes, you have Aaron Donald coming back, but, Jalen Ramsey's gone. A lot of players are gone for the Rams. So I'm going Seattle at home, dude. It only makes sense here. No Cooper Kupp. Matt Stafford's iffy right now off an injury. Definitely going Seattle. I think Kenneth Walker is going to ball out and run all over the Rams. So I definitely like Seattle with the 5. 45.5 is the over-under. I think it's going to be under, but I definitely like Seattle at home, and Geno Smith's going to have a good home opener. And then we got the Dallas Cowboys versus the New York Giants on Sunday Night Football. I can't wait for this matchup. I really can't. Cowboys are 3.5-point favorites here. My thing is, do the Dallas Cowboys truly trust in Dak Prescott? Is he your guy? And the answer is no. Jerry Jones does not trust Dak Prescott. Why? Because he signed Trey Lance from the San Francisco 49ers, gave up, I think, a 3rd or 4th round pick for that from next year. But my thing is, Dak Prescott, it's been the same story watching the Dallas Cowboys. They get to the big game, they get to the playoffs, they have a great roster, great talent from offense to defense, and then they come up short. And I'm looking at Dak Prescott and saying, hey, you're the leader here. You're the quarterback here. You're the leader of this team. Like, lead by example here. And they haven't recently. They just have not. Obviously, the Cowboys have a great defense. You got Micah Parsons, one of the greatest defenders right now in NFL right now. You got Trevon Diggs. You got Stephon Gilmore, who was playing in Indy last year, a good cornerback. Now the Cowboys snagged him up. You got Tony Pollard, the starting running back, who's filled in for Zeke, and then Deuce Vaughn, who short guy, like 5'2", Deuce Vaughn. I love this guy. He's gonna be a backup. We're gonna see some reps with him. But to me, I want to go Dallas here. I really do. Dallas has had the Giants number quite a few times. But you know what? I'm going to go Giants on Sunday Night Football. I think Daniel Jones is going to come out balling out. I think Saquon Barkley's going to ball out as well. 10 touchdowns last season, over 1,300 yards rushing. Daniel Jones, over 3,200 yards passing with 15 touchdowns and 5 picks last season. So I think the Giants have something to prove here. Obviously, the Cowboys do as well. But I just don't trust the Cowboys to win the Super Bowl with Dak Prescott. I just don't. I'm sorry. You can call me a Dak Prescott hater, but the reality is, Dak Prescott comes up short every single time, dude. He just does. We go back to the San Francisco game. You ran it in the middle of the field with no timeouts with like 10 seconds. Just a boneheaded play. You cannot make these type of bad mistakes in the playoffs, dude. It just bites you in the butt. But my thing is the whole organization. Jerry Jones. I just don't know. But I'm going the Giants with the upset by a field goal over the Dallas Cowgirls on Sunday Night Football. I cannot wait. 45 is the over-under. I'll probably go with the under here. I think it's going to be a little bit low-scoring game, but I like the Giants with the upset here at home in New York. Like, take off, New York Giants. Let's go. And then we got the Buffalo Bills versus the New York Jets on Monday Night Football. Buffalo Bills, 2.5-point favorites. We know Josh Allen, he's on the cover of Madden, had a great season last season, over 4,200 yards passing with 35 touchdowns, 14 picks. His boy Stephon Diggs, over 1,400 yards receiving and 11 touchdowns. Damar Hamlin, the guy who got hurt last season, really, they said he probably died on the field. Miracle, he's alive still. They got him back to life. So he's expected to start for the Bills, which is kind of like, oh my gosh, dude, his heart stopped for a minute. Like, that's crazy. He's back, so prayers up for Damar Hamlin. But the Buffalo Bills, they lost in the playoffs against the Bengals at home, which was a huge loss. And the Bengals are still missing pieces. Von Miller's going to be out for a while. The Bills, man, it's just one of them things that have a lot of hype. Have a good regular season. Josh Allen's a baller, yes, but they're still missing pieces defensively. That's the thing. And the New York Jets this year is the dark horse team. I'm telling you right now, and I'm going to go Jets on Monday Night Football. Aaron Rodgers, his new squad, been in the league since 2005. The iPhones didn't even come out then. The iPhones came out in 07. Aaron Rodgers was before the iPhones, dude. So shout out to Aaron Rodgers. He had 26 touchdowns last season, 12 picks. You got Breece Hall. Dalvin Cook, that dynamic duo running back is going to be crazy. You got Garrett Wilson. You got C.J. Mosley on defense, Sauce Gardner. I'm telling you what right now, the Jets are a real team. If you guys think the Jets are just all hype here, that is silly, dude. Aaron Rodgers alone right there can change any organization here. I want to see Aaron Rodgers win a Super Bowl before he retires. I think he's like 38 and it's late 30. This is time now. And Aaron Rodgers understands, hey, I got a young team here. I got guys that are hungry, guys that are flying around the ball. Let's go here. So I like the Jets to win at home against the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen's still going to do his thing. Absolutely. I just think the Buffalo Bills need to beefing up on defense here. Get the defensive line better. Get the linebacking core better. I mean, we saw what happened last year in the playoffs, when they played at home hosting the Cincinnati Bengals, and Cincinnati just threw all over them. They did what they wanted. Joe Burrow just picked them apart, picked Buffalo apart. But I think the Jets are going to get Buffalo Bills on Monday night because of Aaron Rodgers, that it factor. He's going to throw the ball down the field. Definitely go with the over in this matchup. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. Josh Allen, we know what the Bills can do offensively. They can score on anybody. My thing is the Buffalo Bills always have a weak defense, and I think that's what's going to happen. So I like the Jets, the New York Jets, in Aaron Rodgers' opening night. They're going to get it done on Monday Night Football. I cannot wait. I'm so excited that the NFL is back. It seemed like it's been 2 years since this Super Bowl with Kansas City and Philadelphia. It really has. I can't wait. I hope and pray that my Indianapolis Colts take off. Please, Anthony Richardson, take off. I cannot wait. It's the NFL Week 1. It's the Clown with Cam show.